Many people believe that Islam will follow in Khabib's footsteps and retire as a dominant champ. Arman likely won't be the one to dethrone Islam, but Islam's reign isn't nearly as impenetrable as it seems. In this video, I'll break down Islam's tendencies and weaknesses that will likely cost him the belt in dramatic fashion, and at the end we'll discuss who's likely to punish these issues and beat Islam. Islam's power and generally good results on the feet have obfuscated a major weakness. His striking defense is extremely predictable. Islam loves countering, but always throws the same strike, a lead hook. Regardless of how he moves defensively, if he's in range to counter, you can be quite confident that the lead hook is coming. Islam's lead hook, despite being a front-hand weapon, is devastatingly powerful. It's what dropped Oliveira and ultimately led to the finish. However, Volkanovski and Poirier both picked up on the predictable nature of Islam's counters and started to preemptively slip the hook. Being able to anticipate the counter made it easier for them to throw in pressure on the feet. This is one of the two main reasons why they had significantly more success on the feet than most of Islam's other opponents. The other notable reason for their success is because they punished the predictability of Islam's defensive movements. Islam has two main defensive movements. When defending straight shots from boxing range, he moves backwards and guards or extends his arms. While when defending looping shots or strikes thrown from far away, he ducks under them and high guards. In both cases, he tends to square up, where his feet are near parallel, which limits his lateral mobility, offense, and defense. Later in the fight, Poirier started blasting uppercuts and body shots because they're strikes that Islam's defensive patterns don't work well against. The uppercuts made ducking risky and forced Islam into more of a slug fight, allowing Poirier to have the advantage on the feet. Volkanovski, however, thoroughly laid out the blueprint for beating Islam on the feet. Volkanovski would start a combination in boxing range to push Islam back, slip the predictable counter lead hook, then look to really land on Islam as he was squared up and moving backwards so that he had no effective defensive options. Despite lacking knockout power, Volkanovski hurt Islam multiple times with this strategy. While not yet heavily exploited by his opponents, there is a technique that Islam very rarely punishes: kicks. Many wrestlers like to either cash kicks or time them for easy takedowns. However, Islam tends to just defend them and leave it as that. His defense against body and head kicks consists of blocking, moving away, or typically both. His defense against leg kicks is minimal. He moves away from them if he can, but hasn't shown a significant ability to check them. Volkanovski was able to do seemingly significant damage from just a few low kicks, getting a substantial reaction with each land. If Islam continues to not punish kicks, they'll be an extremely valuable tool to push Islam back and potentially land at the end of combos when he's moving backwards and extending his arms. This is one of the ways I could imagine Arman beating Islam, because he has thrown combos starting from boxing range that end with a high kick, but I'm not confident that he'll make the read and focus on it this fight. Islam spends significantly more time on the feet than Khabib, which already makes him significantly more susceptible to getting caught. With his defensive striking issues on top of that, there's a solid chance he will get punished for it and knocked out. A lot of people consider Islam to be Khabib 2.0, but the reality is that the gains in striking came with losses in the grappling. When Khabib got you down, even if you survived the round or got back to your feet, you weren't going to be the same person. He slowly suffocated his opponents, constantly moving from position to position to get better angles, ground and pound more efficiently, and chase different submissions. He never worked on something for too long. If it wasn't working, he switched to something else, giving his opponents no time to rest. In contrast, Islam is willing to hold a dominant position until his opponent escapes or the round is over. While this does win rounds, it takes a significantly lesser toll on his opponents. Despite Volkanovski being controlled by Islam for much of rounds 1 and 4, he was a significantly fresher fighter in round 5. While Poirier was completely gassed by round 3 of fighting Khabib, despite Islam having far more control time in round 1, Poirier was still able to maintain his pace the entire fight. This has led to significantly closer title fights than Khabib had, and overall just more opportunities to get caught since Islam's opponents are rarely truly depleted. Islam also doesn't quite have the same fine movement manipulation that we used to see from Khabib. We've seen Oliveira and Arman both get up pretty much at will when fighting Islam, and even Poirier made significant strides in defending Islam's takedowns by limp legging, like I discussed in the How to Beat a Dagestani video. Islam has also been controlled on the feet by Arman, Volk, and Moises, with Arman and Moises illustrating the optimal way to take Islam down. While Islam has amazing balance, he has shown vulnerability to being backed up to the fence. Arman and Moises both got to similar positions on Islam, but while Arman kept attacking the balance with body locks and single legs, Moises switched to the double leg from that position and was able to lift and dump Islam. While it still would be difficult, utilizing wrestling to beat Islam is definitely possible. Islam remains dangerous, but isn't as menacing on the ground as Khabib was. Now I'm sure you're wondering that even given these weaknesses, who has the skill set to abuse them and ultimately beat Islam? There are 5 people who I believe could beat Islam, and we'll go from least likely to most likely. Coming in at 5th, we have Dan Hooker. While this may seem crazy given how easily Islam beat him the first time, it was on extremely short notice for Hooker, and he has made significant strides in his takedown defense since then. The main reason why I believe Hooker could win is because of his knee setup. Hooker likes to draw out a duck, whether it's to evade a strike or shoot a takedown, and then blast his knee up the middle. Given Islam's tendency to duck, Hooker could draw out the duck with a looping shot, then catch Islam with the knee. While I would still favor Islam in this fight, Hooker has won as a sizable underdog in his last two for good reason. Coming in at 4th is Martush Gamrot. Gamrot is the one fighter who I believe genuinely has the ability to out-wrestle Islam. While he still will be at a striking deficit, with his usual takedown spam he could edge a decision. At 3rd we have Rafael Fiziev. Fiziev will abuse Islam's tendency to not punish kicks, and letting Fiziev kick freely has devastating consequences. If he's continued to improve his already solid takedown defense, he could punish with kicks until opportunities opened up for his hands. At 2nd we have Charles Oliveira. While most people are dismissing Oliveira's chances against Islam due to the first fight, the only real problem he had was getting caught by the lead hook. If he makes the adjustment, his clinch striking, high kicks, ability to get back to his feet, and extremely aggressive striking make him a tough matchup for Islam. Oliveira took way too reckless an approach last time, going to his back voluntarily and trying to wrestle in the clinch instead of striking. If he uses his kicks to push back Islam, or even shoots clean double legs like he did against Chandler, he may be able to land the double leg against the fence or catch Islam with strikes. Unlike with Arman, where finishing the combo with a kick is likely best, Charles should likely start his combos with a high kick to get Islam moving backwards, then throw his hands when Islam squares up, since his most dangerous striking weapon is his straight. At 1st, and the fighter who I now believe will be the one to beat Islam, is Ilia Topuria. Topuria just has the best possible style to beat Islam. He has strong takedown defense, starts combos from boxing range, then tries to catch his opponents as they move backwards. It genuinely feels like he was tailor-made to knock out Islam. There are definitely paths to victory for Islam, but he would have to fight a perfect fight and I just can't see it happening. Ultimately, while Islam is a great fighter, it's very difficult to stay perfect in modern MMA. Very few people get to retire on top, and between his striking vulnerabilities, susceptibility to kicks, and grappling inefficiencies, I doubt Islam will be one of them. History has shown us that even great champions have fallen, and I do believe Islam's reign will end with him face down out cold, potentially at the hands of Topuria. Subscribe if you like analysis content like this, and until next time.